Before we state the problem, we must first define what exactly is an NGO. A NGO is a non-governmental organization whose purpose is to address some form of social or political problem. Some examples can be seen here. In Trinidad and Tobago, it can be said that two major problems plague NGOs. One, a lack of visibility, and two, unnecessary amounts of inconvenience involved in the volunteer process. Problem 1. Visibility. Many people have no idea where to find information about NGOs. As such, NGOs find themselves needing more help than is currently offered to them, and the public find themselves lacking in certain areas of knowledge. This lack of visibility limits the number of people and resources available to NGOs for events. By dealing with this, NGOs can expect more volunteers and thus more productive efforts towards effective change. Problem 2. Convenience. The perceived lack of visibility of NGOs in the mind of the general public is in actuality due to a lack of convenience. Since most NGOs use a variety of communication channels to share information, this means that extra work is placed on the shoulders of potential volunteers. Our solution to these problems involves creating an application to connect NGOs to volunteers and vice versa. The application will provide a consolidated source of information for both NGOs and volunteers that is convenient and intuitive. Next, Qarun will go into more detail regarding the specific features of our application.
Our application consists of two parts, a volunteer side and an NGO side, both of which are tailored to its intended user. The features of each side are shown in the table. Once the NGO posts an event, volunteers can search for events and register. The NGO can then approve or deny volunteers based on the skills listed on their profile. Once the event is finished, the NGO can leave feedback on the volunteers of that event so that other NGOs can have an idea of the volunteers' level of experience.
The technologies used for the development of the application was GitHub for version control and file management, WebStorm as the main development IDE, Node.js as the application environment, Angular as the TypeScript front-end framework, Material Design for the front-end user interface, Express.js as the Node.js server framework, and SQLize as the server database middleware. Hosting the application occurred in several places: GitHub for hosting the project, Heroku for public deployment of the application for execution, and Firebase for user account management and authentication of users. The database we used for the application was a PostgreSQL database. Our current progress can be divided into 4 layers: user interface, routing, testing, and backend. Within the user interface, a responsive progressive web app was created. Also, several templates that would be reused throughout the application were also created. A login and sign up page was also created, and a dynamic NGO profile for on-the-fly editing was made. Routing for the login page, profiles, and events were also done. Basic unit testing for the existence of components, testing for the login page, and testing for proper routing throughout the application was also done. Within the backend, data models for events, NGOs, volunteers, feedback, notifications, subscriptions, and event applications were created. Also, API controllers for said models were also created. Seed files were created for the models to populate the database with data so that we can fulfill the components required in the application for testing. Firebase account management and authentication was set up for creating users within the application.
Due to the growing scale of the project, only the completion of the most necessary features will be considered for the remainder of the semester. While communication with the database is complete, much of the creation and editing of data still has to be done, such as creating an event. Setting notifications and subscription of volunteers to NGOs are also crucial, since this is the backbone of the platform itself. Finally, proper authentication behavior will have to be addressed, since privacy of users' data is of utmost importance.
Within the backend, we still have to create event filtering, where a user can select specific criteria for generating an event list, and NGO filtering, where you can filter a list of NGOs.